Alright children, now we start with the second idea. Often you must have seen them loaded with ice a sunny winter morning after a rain. They click upon themselves as the breeze rises and turn many-colored as the stir cracks and crazes their enamel. Soon the sun's warmth makes them shed crystal shells, shattering and avalanching on the snow crust. Such heaps of broken glass to sweep away. You'd think the inner dome of heaven had fallen. They are dragged to the withered bracken by the load, and they do not seem to break. Though once they are bowed for so long, they never right themselves. You may see their trunks arching into the woods years afterwards, trailing their leaves on the ground, like girls on hands and knees that throw their hair before them over their heads to dry in the sun. Now, what I read right now is one idea. Now, here, children, you have a very beautiful piece of imagery. Now, before I go to line by line explanation, I would like you to just visualize this entire thing. Now, in front of you, say there is a huge wood, a forest of birches. And atop these birch trees, there is a lot of snow that has gathered. Alright? So just imagine, all around you are trees, and there are on top of the trees, a lot of snow has gathered. Now, if you look at these from down below, all trunks around you, and on top of you, the treetops that gather together or that seem to be forming a canopy. You know what a canopy is? A sort of an umbrella-like formation on top. Alright? So, trees around you and almost their tops meet on top and snow is gathered. So, it appears like a big canopy on top of you of ice. So, it looks like a canopy or a dome-shaped appearance of glass. So, if you see from below, you will find a glass dome on top, alright, a canopy on top. And this dome is nothing but the ice that has gathered on the branches and the leaves of the tree. So, here a very beautiful piece of imagery is there. Now, you have all studied science and you know how ice acts like prism, alright, scattering light into rainbow colors. So the sun rays that are falling on these ice or this ice dome, it seems to be scattering light into rainbow colors. Alright? And as the wind or the breeze blows, it seems to be moving the branches of the trees, and since it's all ice that has gathered, there is this crackling sound of little ice breaking. The trees move, so this ice that is gathered on the treetops, it will start to crackle. Like when it cracks, ice cracks, it makes a crackling sound. So the ice seems to crackle, and then as the warmth of the sun reaches this ice, it seems to with that movement of wind. Just visualize that movement of wind. And the sun rays. Now, sun rays is melting that ice, making it weak at places. Alright? The sun rays making this dome shape, the dome shape that is there of ice, making it weak. The sun rays is making this ice weak, and the constant movement of wind is bringing these little crackling sound, creating cracks in between this dome. And very soon what you see is that this entire ice seems to crumble down like an avalanche of ice falling through. So the entire and how does this pieces of ice, when they fall, how do they look like? They look like little pointed pieces of ice, like you've seen icicles. So when this ice break, it appears like those sharpened edges you can see in these ice. They look like small icicles that are falling over in an avalanche. So I'll go by line explanation of this. It says that often you see them loaded with ice on a sunny winter morning. So you can get a question here of, what would you see on a sunny winter morning? Describe the sight that the poet describes on a sunny winter morning. So what would you see on a sunny winter morning after the rain? They click upon themselves. Now click is making that clicking sound as the ice begins to break because of the sun and the rain. So they click upon themselves as the breeze rises. Alright, as the breeze is rising, so the trees are moving because of the breeze. The rain has been there and now there is sun. So that is making that ice a little weak and it seems to be making that clicking sound. And turn many colored as the stir cracks. Now as it cracks, each piece of ice is acting like a prism. It is, reflecting that light into those vibgyor colors, those rainbow colors. So you can see that happening all around you. And the stir cracks and crazes their enamel. Now what is this enamel here? This is white coating of the snow that is breaking. What is the enamel? Enamel you've seen on your teeth. It is that white coating, right? So what is the enamel on these treetops? The ice that has gathered. So now this enamel has begun to crack. Shattering and avalanching on the snow crust. So when the sun's warmth makes them shed crystal shells. Now when the sun warmth reaches these ice that is already cracking, it comes down like crystal shells. Crystal shells is what? The fragments of, shining ice that look like pieces of broken glass. They come down shattering and avalanching. That shows you the intensity, the impact with which they are falling, like an avalanche of ice on the snow crust. Such heaps of broken glass to sweep away. You would think in a dome of earth, heaven had fallen. Alright, when they come shattering down, they look like pieces of broken glass. Now you've seen how the glass breaks. You have those pointed, sharp pieces of glass looking like ices. So these, the glass that is, or the ice that is falling, it appears like pieces of broken glass. And it appears that the dome, now what was the dome being compared to here? That the canopy of ice was compared to the dome. Alright, so it seems that the heavenly dome has fallen. And they are dragged to the withered bracken by the load. So the dried up fern. What is the withered bracken? The dried up fern. It all falls onto that. They seem not to break, though once they are bowed so long, they never right themselves. Now what is they here? The birch trees. Alright. Now though the load of ice is off their shoulders, so to say, the load of ice is no longer there on the trees. But it says that once this load, what is this load here? The load of ice. Once the load is off the trees, it has fallen off, the ice is no longer there. These tree trunks do not break under their load because the tree trunk is very supple, very flexible and soft. So the trees don't break under the load of this ice, but they are once bowed. That is, once they are bowed under the weight of the snow for such a long time, they never right themselves. Right themselves is they will never be able to straighten up now. They will never grow straight now. They will remain in this position forever. Right? So though the trees do not break under the load of snow, but once they have remained bent under this position for such a long time, they never right themselves. Right themselves here refers to go back to their right original shape of remaining straight, firm, erect. You may see their trunks arching in the wood. Now children, this like in the next line, this shows a simile. It's a beautiful comparison of these trees that are growing, and I have shared an image with you where the tree's trunk is arched and the branches seems to be trailing downward, growing that way. So now here this beautiful imagery is there, and it says that the trunks of the tree remain arched. And how do these arched trees look like? He says that they look like girls on hands and knees that throw their hair before them in the sun to dry. Alright, you've seen girls how if they have long hair, they just throw it in front of them Alright, so like the hair hang in front of their heads in order to dry in the sun. Now you've seen the birch trees in that pic I've sent you, children. So the birch trees has those needle-like leaves, sharp needle-like leaves. So they appear like the hair of girl. Alright, so when the girl is trying to dry her long hair, she just throws them in front of her while she is bent on her knees and hands. So the way she throws her hair in front of her to let the sun dry her hair, similarly is the appearance of a birch tree after it has remained under the load of snow for so long. Alright, so that imagery is clear to you. So with that, we will come to the end of the second idea, and in the next video we will go on to the third idea.